Hey Lionheart folks, it's Lev. Welcome back to another video. For those of you who are new, I use he pronouns. Today is Sunday, February 18th, 2024. It's currently like just past 8 or like 8:21 or something. I'm very specific with time. I like being very specific with time. That's just how my brain works. And in this video, I want to talk about homesickness, as I'm currently filming this in Vietnam and I'm here for another week, and then I fly back to Melbourne on February 24th, and by the time this video is out I've already been back in Melbourne, but I'm just documenting this to share like later when I get back. But before I get into the video, I want to show you the bathroom of my current little hotel condo accommodation place, because sometimes the showers and bathrooms in Vietnam are wild, and I will show you right now. Allow me to present the bathroom. As you can see, there's the toilet, there's the hand washing sink, and there is the shower. It's funny, like some bathrooms in Vietnam are designed like this, where the toilet, the shower, and the sink are in one tiny like little confined space like this. I'm not saying all showers in Vietnam are like this, because the first place I stayed at wasn't like this, but this specific place has a design like this. And one of my relatives' homes here, my extended family, the shower and bathroom is also like this. And yes, in case you're wondering, the toilet seat does get wet, and that's sort of part of how life here is sometimes. Gotta make the most out of space. The shower and the toilet are together with no division, and the entire room gets soaked. Yep. Let's start discussing homesickness. I started feeling homesick. As context, I've been here. This is like the fourth week I've been overseas. Yeah, because I've been in 2 weeks in Vietnam already. Went to Bangkok for a week during Vietnamese New Year here, as there was like nothing here. And then now I'm back in Vietnam for another week. It's my fourth week, and then I fly back to Melbourne. In case you're also wondering, I'm from Melbourne, Australia. Grew up there, lived there my whole life. Have only been to Vietnam and Thailand for holidays, not stayed here long term. I started feeling homesick when I was in Bangkok already, and as time goes on, including today, I started feeling even more and more homesick. Not so much my family themselves, because they're here with me, but more so the Melbourne environment, my house, and all those things. I will get into that in detail right now. So I don't really know how to start this video. I don't know, like I have a lot of thoughts that are floating around, and I'm trying to all piece it together. So if this video is a bit like tangenty, it's because I haven't fully cooked out these thoughts yet, but I just wanted to like document something. And I still have the weird flu cold thing from 6 days ago that started. Going overseas for me is going to an unfamiliar environment. And I should also give a little bit of context that I'm autistic, and structure, routine, and familiarity are important to me, and it ties into the homesickness thing. Go overseas for me is a lot of novelty. It's a lot of unfamiliarity. It's a lot of life as I know it back home, basically non-existent while I'm on vacation in a new country, in a different country. While I do speak Viet, and I am semi-fluent in Viet, I have not lived in Vietnam, and that's different to just knowing the language while living in a Western society. I don't live here like long term. I don't work here, I don't reside here, etc. I visit here, which is a very different sort of circumstance to living here long term. And yes, also by familiarity, it's a lot of uncertainty. And back home when I'm in Melbourne, when I go out, have a new experience, for example, and then I feel overwhelmed or I feel like I need to return to my realm of safety, I go back to my house, my realm of familiarity, my realm of safety, where I have an environment where I can efficiently sensory deprive. I know where everything is in my house. I know my house, my nervous system is familiar with it, and I go back there to rest and recharge. I have all the equipment there that I need, such as my laptop, my guitar, my drums, my MIDI keyboard. I have some Attack on Titan posters on the wall. Not so much posters, sorry, that's the incorrect word. Prints out of different characters. I'm familiar with that. I have the garden in my backyard, which I also water to help me meditate. Like basically, I go back to a familiar environment when I'm out in an unfamiliar environment and need somewhere to retreat to for comfort. When I'm overseas, the only familiar things I have, aside from family, like aside from the people I'm going with, are this. Like this is one thing, making YouTube videos. The other thing is writing, which I've been writing quite a bit while I'm here, like writing blog posts. Writing and video production, video creation. Aside from that, everything's different. The environment that I sleep in, the streets I walk on, whether I see greenery or not. Like there's so much lack of greenery here in Vietnam. It's unless you go to a park, I will not see grass. Even the trees here, I don't really see like leaves that much. It's just very natureless. It feels very natureless, and I'm not used to that, living in Melbourne and living in a suburb where there's like 4 parks within walking distance and like trees everywhere and grass everywhere I walk. There's no like garden like where I'm staying here at the moment too. It's just, what else? The traffic is different. The traffic is so chaotic here. It's like, it feels lawless sometimes compared to Melbourne. There's so much, people horn, like use the horn so much. It's unbelievable. It's really annoying. That's just a few examples. Basically, everything's different. And like aside from having to adapt to the new changes in my temporary routine as I'm overseas, I also like the familiarity and comfort of my safe environment as an autistic person. And this links into being homesick, because from the 3rd week in, I started already like feeling homesick. Like it started to brew, and now again as time goes on, it's brewing even stronger. The reason I feel so homesick, I think part of it, like a large part of it for me, is that familiar environment of safety and comfort. Something that I'm lacking here. I want to spend this little segment of the video talking about weather homesickness. In Melbourne, the weather is very weird sometimes. It can be, in summer, it doesn't feel like summer because it's usually 21, 22 degrees, sometimes 27 degrees, but it's rarely like consistent above 30 degrees, like over the 3 months of summer. Even when it's like 30 something degrees, it can be very hot during the day and then very cold during the night. It can be feeling like the Sahara Desert during the day, and at night it drops down to Antarctica, even in the middle of summer. But it's my familiar, like I'm familiar with it, despite how annoying Melbourne weather is sometimes and having 4 seasons in one day. After coming to Vietnam and Bangkok, I really miss Melbourne weather, despite how annoyingly weird it is. Because in Vietnam, I'm gonna start with Vietnam. Vietnam, it's hot. it's hot constantly. And being someone who tolerates the cold a lot better, the heat gets to me really fast, and it makes going outside and enjoying outside very hard. In Bangkok, it's torture. The temperature is always high. It's always like above 30 degrees consistently. There's the heat, there's the scorching heat. There is the high humidity. There is the significantly polluted air. I've checked online, and Bangkok's sort of air quality is like frequently, from when I was there and checking it, frequently at the unhealthy level, and it's like risky for at-risk groups. Like it's health risk for at-risk groups. So it makes going outside very hard. It makes, for me at least, enjoying outdoor activities very hard. And I avoid going outside during the day, except, you know, going to the shopping mall where there's like ventilation and air conditioning. Staying outside is just very hard. It's not enjoyable. And it's like, when I flew from Melbourne to Vietnam and landed in Vietnam first, I thought the air was horrendous. And then I went to Bangkok and realized how worse it is there. And then now I'm back in Vietnam, I'm like, Vietnam is better than Bangkok. And I thought Vietnam air was bad. And then now when I go back to Melbourne in a way, I want to be like, this air is luxury. This weather is luxury. Melbourne weather, I should say air quality specifically, is luxury compared to me being overseas in Vietnam and Thailand for a month and finding it so disgustingly worse compared to Melbourne. And I think a large part of I know for Vietnam at least, like I've been here like on holiday here a lot longer and been around a lot more. There is like very little nature. The only nature I see is like selective parks. And there is little grass. I don't really see trees on the streets. I don't really see grass. There are not in Saigon or Ho Chi Minh City. There aren't like any like national parks or something like that. That I know of. And there's also a lot of motorbikes, and that leads to a lot of pollution. It's just it just feels natureless when I'm in Saigon. It just feels natureless. It's all urban and no greenery. And that is why I also think the air is bad. Very bad. Unsure of why Bangkok's air quality is so bad. Haven't done enough research into that. But it is really bad. At night, the temperatures are more tolerable in Bangkok compared to during the day, but it's still bad, and the air quality is still bad at night. So, slight better temperature tolerance, humidity, and air is still bad. And that's why I'm like weather homesick, longing for Melbourne weather, despite the 4 seasons in one day. It's something I'm familiar with, and I miss Melbourne weather. And I cannot believe I said that. I never thought I'd say that in my life. Just quickly circling back to the point I made initially about going overseas being novelty and unfamiliarity, and me usually needing a safe space to go back to recharge after a period of unfamiliarity. I seek out familiarity and comfort to recharge and decompress. And the first 2 weeks I was overseas, I didn't feel homesick. It's because I was so hyped. You know, I haven't been overseas in over 5 years. So hyped to see family here. Just break free from the routine of being at home. But now as I realized that I'm lacking the familiarity of not just my house, but my neighborhood, the physical environment, the greenery, the nature, everything, the longing and desire to go home intensifies. And to a degree, it's become this sort of like game of survival, being like, okay, I have 6 days until I go home. I have 5 days until I go home. I have 4 days until I go home. Whereas I didn't feel that in the first 2 weeks I was overseas, because again, I was so hyped and everything. I think I was masking a lot more. And now reality comes crashing down and I'm just like, I need my familiarity and the nature and the greenery and everything. I should also say specifically that I'm in Saigon. I think if we go to like rural areas of Vietnam, there's a lot more greenery and stuff. But I'm in Saigon, which is basically a city, and it's very urbanized. It's very fast moving. It's very chaotic. And it's the same with Bangkok. It's the city. I stayed in the city. It was like very chaotic, fast moving. I didn't stay in a rural village somewhere, so that's also more context about why I feel more homesick. Is that there's chaos at home. There's also chaos here when I go. And again, I'm lacking the familiar, safe, comfort environment that my nervous system is used to safely let loose. I just had a thought about the topic of home in general. I think as I've been here for 3 weeks now, but this being my 4th, home is not just, you know, acclimatizing to the new things here. Like hypothetically, right? If I lived here for a few months or 6 months or a year, yes, eventually I will become acclimatized to the weather, acclimatized to annoying traffic, having to walk on roads, and this is Vietnam as my example, having to walk on roads because the footpath is usually blocked because of all the bikes and the stores, and crossing the road in chaotic traffic. Eventually I will get familiar with all that. I will get used to it if I stayed here long enough. But to me, home also needs to be comfortable, not just familiar. Like if I'm familiar with a place, if I've been here long enough, but I don't feel comfortable, then it doesn't feel like a home to me. Because home to me is safe. Home to me is safe. But if something is familiar, but not safe or comfortable, then that can't be home for me. And that ties into homesickness, because I'm sort of familiar with the external environment here, and I'm more confident crossing the road, for example, and used to walking on roads now, but I don't feel fully comfortable here. And that's also why I'm homesick. I did touch on this in the previous segment of the video, but I can't exactly enjoy my holiday fully, or be fully present on vacation, if this desire to go back home is becoming more intense. I know it's another week, but it will go like this. It will go really fast, and I will be glad to be back home in Melbourne. But still, I think it's still important to acknowledge that I do feel homesick, and that while I know I can last out a week, it's not necessarily going to be a comfortable experience as my homesickness intensifies. Because feeling homesick, again, I think I explained this before, not having a safe space, feeling homesick tends to lead to nervous system dysregulation and feeling nauseous. And not nauseous because I ate something bad and I have food poisoning, but nauseous because my nerves are going haywire, because it's not being regulated properly. It's needing something that cannot be had at the moment. And if it gets to that intense level, it becomes a game of survival until I get back home. So yeah, the nervous system dysregulation, I already feel it. It's already kicking in. I think I sort of learned that for me, going overseas at least, 3 weeks is good. 4 weeks is a little bit like pushing it. Like if 4 weeks I can last, but the last week is not going to be so much enjoyable compared to like the first 2 weeks. I think for me at the moment, 3 weeks is a good limit for me. I have relocated rooms because my family got back and I was sitting in the living room. I can't be like wait outside of the apartment we're in, hiring condo thing, and wait for me to finish my video before you come in. So I have migrated to this room with a secluded area. The last point I had, it's very undercooked. It's very much in development stages and I don't have all the answers, but I just want to like document this as like my thoughts for this period in my life. And it's, what is it about the home environment back in Melbourne that I find safety in, that I find comfort in, and how can I sort of identify such things and sort of try to replicate it as best as I can while I'm overseas. So while I don't have an exact replication of home to retreat to, there are factors, items, things, elements, I think I said factors already. What things can I do, or what things can I bring? What things can I set up that will allow me to feel like I'm more at home while I am away from home? It's like a portable home kit, portable improvised comfort home kit, if that makes sense. And one thing I lack here that I have back in Melbourne is instruments. I play drums, I play guitar, or I make music like production and play around on my MIDI keyboard as a way to regulate. I know there's music apps on my phone. I have music apps on my phone. It just doesn't hit the same way. And I don't really use it. I haven't been using it overseas despite me downloading it a bunch in advance. That's one example. I can't really think of any other examples from the top of my head, as this idea is still very much in its early stages. And I haven't really thought about this homesickness topic in depth until like last week. That's why I don't have everything cooked yet, but that's okay. This is a documented video for today. Maybe I'll make another video in future about my thoughts on homesickness as I experience more and know more about myself, understand how I interact with the world, etc. But for now, that is all I had. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any thoughts, comments, questions, feel free to leave them. I said that as I was like glancing over to the light here. If you have any thoughts, queries, questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. And I will see you in the next video.